Hello humans, and welcome back to another Fire Emblem Engage video. Today we're talking about the new wave of DLC that dropped, which is Wave 3, and with this, the last of our Emblem Bracelets and DLC heroes. We still have one more wave coming after this with the DLC story expansion, so we'll see what that brings in terms of the new classes it's going to add, which I think it's going to have, but for now, let's shift our focus to the new emblems Chrom and Robin and Veronica. I'll start off with Chrom and Robin because I honestly feel like these guys are a little bit less interesting, and by that I definitely don't mean they're bad, I just think there's less to really do with them. At max bond level, Chrom gives +3 strength, 5 dex, and 4 to speed, making it a great offensive all-rounder bracelet, and in terms of proficiencies, it gives access to sword and tome. He comes with 3 engage weapons in the Levin Sword, Thoron, and the Falchion. The Levin Sword here is worse than your standard issue one that you can get in the base game, and the Falchion is the Falchion, there's not much really to say here, but Thoron is interesting because instead of it having 3 range, it's 1 to 2 range. And it's much lighter than the other Thunder Tomes, letting you double. It also has something like 14 might, if I'm not mistaken, so a pretty decent option all around. In terms of skills, we have 4 base skills and 2 engage ones, so let's start with the base ones. Chrom has a skill called Surprise Attack, which, if a unit attacks from avoid terrain, this doesn't allow the enemy to counterattack. This is really good on a lot of different units, and anyone who's a ranged unit like coverts or even mystical units, for reasons I'll get into later. Rally Spectrum is a skill that works basically like Byleth's Engage Instruct skill when it's on Alir, and it gives all adjacent allies +2 to all stats, and when upgraded it gives all allies within 2 spaces +3 to all stats. But you can use this on any unit and it'll give that effect instead of being confined to the dragon bonus that Byleth has. Brute Force is an interesting skill since it increases critical hit damage from ×3 to ×4, and I think this will unlock Panette, or any other crit-based builds, to take them to even further beyond the level that they're normally at with the wacky Vantage builds, if you so desire. Last but not least is what I think is the most useless skill, Charm. This skill increases chain attack accuracy from 80% to 90%. It's certainly nothing earth-shattering, but I guess it's an okay added bonus on an emblem like this one. Moving on to Chrom's engage skills, we have 2. The first one is called Other Half. This one causes Robin to join the battle and perform a chain attack before you attack, but it also gives you magic +10 while engaged on both phases, which is absolutely massive. Keep in mind, this is a visible blue buff, so it won't go over the overall +20 cap that you can get, but it's a very nice boost to magical-based units who already have a high base magic to take them, again, even further beyond. On dragons, this skill lets Robin chain attack twice, and on backup units, the chain attacks are guaranteed to hit, and on covert units, they get an extra +1 move while engaged, which is probably the nicest part of this sync. The second engage skill is the engage attack Giga Levin Sword. This skill is kind of interesting because it's a magic-based attack that hits resistance, but it uses your physical attack for the calculation, and only a sword can be used for it. It's kinda nice against those pesky high defense enemies to give your physical units another option without having to rely on their magic stat instead. Unfortunately, this feels like it cripples mages in return to kinda balance it out, as they'll barely be able to make use of it and would probably be better off just attacking normally. Luckily, it changes based on class, so in the dragon class you get extra flat damage added on based on half the unit's strength, which is extremely powerful. And flying units get the discounted version of this, which is extra damage added on based on their build stat, which is still kinda nice, especially if you're running this on someone like an Ivy or a Griffin Knight or whatever. And of course, I did mention the mystical units earlier, so we can't leave them out. Basically, like dragons, they get bonus damage based on half their magic stat, but since the initial damage is based off physical, I don't really know if this really compensates for that. You might just be better off normal attacking, to be honest, especially if you double. In terms of the skill inheritance we have here, the only thing really of note is Brute Force, in my opinion, but at 1500 SP, it's quite the cost investment to get on your units who already might want quite a few other skills. Surprise Attack is 3000 SP at base, so that's kind of out of the question in terms of its usefulness, and the stat boosts and Sword Guard skills are absolutely not worth it. Generally, that's just a rule of thumb with skill inheritance. You don't want the base stat boosts in the guard or the damage skills. Charm is pretty cheap at 800, and it could be nice if you're running a gimmick chain attack squad, but other than that, I'm not really impressed with the SI selection that Chrom has to offer here. I guess Rally Spectrum Plus at 2000 SP can be pretty good on a filler unit, but outside of that, skip the SI here, it's not worth it. Overall, it's a pretty good bracelet for offense, and I actually think this is one of the fantastic ones for mages or 11 sword based griffins because of the flat plus 10 magic while engaged and the plus 4 base speed at max bond level to let them double. Surprise attack once again is very nice to let these squishy units do their thing without being countered, and they also get some nice support options with the rally skill. Also, a little bit of an honorable mention for covert units as well with the +1 move and nice addition to their offenses as well, but outside of Yunaka, who already has the crit when in avoid terrain to help synergize with brute force, I don't really see archers making too much use of these combos or the magic and physical hybrids. Personally, I'm not really a fan of hybriding much myself anyways, so I think I'd stick this on my mages and call it a day. Now, as loath as I am to give anything Fire Emblem Heroes related any credit whatsoever, let's move on to the more interesting unit of the two, Veronica. In true gacha fashion, this unit is all about random abilities stuck on her for reasons that absolutely make no sense, but it is what it is. At max bond, Veronica gives +5 to magic, +4 to res, and +6 to luck, making her a nice magic boost support unit. In terms of proficiencies, she gives access to staves and tomes. Veronica, like Soren, also has 3 emblem weapons, but one of them is a staff in Fortify Plus, which heals not only the HP of all units within 7 spaces, but it also cures their status effects, making it quite a nice utility staff here, though I think I like Soren's a little bit more personally. Outside of that, she has access to Hildskjalf, and I hope I'm not butchering that name, but this is her personal staff, which is treated like a tome in this game, and it prevents the foe from counterattacking, kind of like how Chrom's surprise attack works, but without the being limited to avoid tiles. Lastly, she has her personal tome Elivagar, which nullifies stat bonuses on the enemy for a single turn after combat. I'm not entirely sure where this would really be useful, but it's there if you want it, I guess. In my opinion, having said all of that, Veronica's weapons really aren't that important since her real power lies in her support and utility capabilities, so let's talk about her skills. Like Chrom, she has 4 base and 2 engage skills. The skill I'm really excited to talk about is her first skill, Reprisal, which adds 30% and later on 50% of the HP you've lost to your attack stat. Just to clarify, your attack stat is not your strength or your magic, it's whatever it says physical attack or magical attack up towards the top of the stat screen. That's what it's adding on to. So it's flat attack. It's not exactly flat damage, because let's say an enemy has 30 defense and you've got 20 physical attack and you're adding on 40 to that, you're not going to be doing 40 damage. You're going to be doing 30 because your physical attack goes to 60 and the enemy has 30 defense, so the subtraction between that one is 30. Regardless, this is actually really, really strong, and if you have a unit with very high HP, well, the potential for this could get quite crazy, making it a potentially stronger option than Wrath in some instances. I know a lot of my videos are kind of talking videos, so if you normally just listen to me talk in the background about things like this, that's fine, but I'd like just a minute of your time to draw your attention to the footage that's going on screen right now. My Jean has a killer axe equipped, which gives him about 63 physical attack against all of these enemies, but just look at the damage. And he doesn't even have Wrath, so the crits aren't even consistent. This build can easily swap his pair-up skill for Wrath, and you've got an absolutely unstoppable monster at your hand, especially if you just give him something like a Forged Tomahawk and focus on increasing its hit rate. Because of Vantage and the flat reprisal stacking, the damage that you're going to be outputting here is going to be so crazy that you're most likely one-shotting every single enemy in the entire game. I highly doubt that there are many things that will survive a hit from that if your HP is low enough, and if you're really worried, just put a Silver Great Axe on or an Ukon Vasara and forge them. Anyways, I do think this is a sleeper offensive capability for this Veronica that also works on mages. She already gives them an extra base 5 magic for equipping her, so that's giving them a little bit more of a head start, and lots of enemy resistances are pretty low in this game until the very end. Unfortunately, magic classes have much lower base HP, so it's a bit of a balancing act, I guess. They probably designed Veronica around you equipping her to a magic-based unit and didn't think about the physical ones. I would honestly just go with physical for her and really stack your HP as high as possible. It's very, very fun. I do have to say, though, that the one drawback of Reprisal is that it costs a whopping 5k SP to inherit and 6k for the upgraded version, so it's highly likely that even with her SB boosting skill that we're going to get to later, you're not going to SI this on anyone in a single playthrough. If you want to use this combo, you're going to have her equipped and it's only going to be on the one unit. Anyways, enough about Reprisal, let's talk about Book of Worlds. This skill is kind of wacky and it was very confusing to me at first until I figured out how it works, so I'll try and be as precise as possible while explaining it so that it makes sense for you guys. Book of Worlds has 5 different levels, and it increases its level whenever you use the wait function at the end of a turn. You can increase it multiple times per turn if you wait, then dance, then wait, then goddess dance, then wait, then dance, then wait again. That's basically level 4. It has a total of 5 levels, so you won't be able to max stack it in one turn, you'd need a second turn to do that, and each level adds an effect that you get. Once you end up doing an action other than wait, the level immediately goes back down all the way to 0. I'm going to put the different levels displayed on your screen for your reference, but I'll also talk through them as well. Level 1 basically gives you the ability to freeze a foe after you initiate on them after combat. Level 2 does the same as 1, but it lights the space below the enemy on fire after combat. Level 3 adds 10 damage post-combat to the previous 2 level effects. Level 4 restores all damage dealt during combat as HP, which is really nice, in addition to all the previous effects. And last but not least, level 5 also heals adjacent allies equal to damage dealt during combat along with all 4 previous effects. This skill would be really busted if it was just the way it is, but the fact that it resets after any action other than wait helps balance it out. And the freeze effect on level 1 alone is good enough to make it serviceable anyways, in addition to all the stuff that Veronica is giving you on the side. Speaking of things on the side, Veronica's third skill is a level boost. This operates exactly like Roy's, but it only gives you a maximum of 3 levels instead of 4, and you get 1 per enemy that you kill. However, unlike Roy's, you don't need to be engaged to activate it, and you just keep the boost until the end of the entire battle, which is insanely good. And if that wasn't enough, it only costs 300 SP to inherit, which makes it an even more cracked early game skill to inherit that will immediately elevate your power level. And if that wasn't enough, let's talk about Veronica's 4th freaking skill, SP Conversion. Look, I hate to call things broken, but let's call a spade a spade. This skill actually just flat out breaks the game and the SP economy. Throw everything you know about SP gain out the window because it's all changing now. This skill adds a flat 20 SP to your gain every time you kill a unit, and that's that. And you want to hear something even more disgusting? It only costs 300 SP to inherit, which means every unit in the game will have access to it immediately. I don't know what more to say about this. This game is shattering, and there are no two ways about it. You'll easily get your return on investment with this skill very quickly in about 15 kills, and it'll enable every unit in the game to inherit Cantor before Chapter 10 if you so desire. There's one very small drawback to this, or maybe it's medium tier drawback, is that you need to get to level 13 Bond with Veronica in order to inherit this skill. And I've done the math for you. That's 3,400 bond points from 0 to 15, or 1 to 15, however that works. If you're using the DLC, you get 5,000 bond points just for existing, and by the time you get Veronica, I'm pretty sure you'll have like another 5,000, so you can probably do this on 3 units right off the bat. Welcome to a world where the DLC has now officially trivialized the game because nothing before this even compares to SP conversion, and that is just a fact. I don't even know how I follow up those 4 skills to talk about her engage skills because compared to what we just talked about, they're kinda mid, but for the sake of completion, I'm gonna do it anyways. Actually, I take that back. Her first skill is Contract, which is basically dance, but it doesn't let the unit that was danced move again, and you can't use it to dance Sea Doll. Dragons give +2 to strength, magic, defense, and resistance, which isn't a huge deal, and backup units chain attack when that ally attacks again, and covert units give the ally 30 hit and avoid. So you're basically just dancing your unit, and then that unit can't move anywhere, but they can attack or do whatever any other action they want to do. The skill is fine. It's balanced by the fact that you need to be adjacent to the unit to do it, and the unit can't move again, but yeah, it's another dance, it's a top tier skill automatically. Honestly, the way I play, I'd rather the unit with Veronica be doing reprisal shenanigans, but this is fine too, I guess. The last skill she has is the ultimate gacha mechanic, and it's Summon Hero. It's very self-explanatory. You basically do the Fire Emblem Heroes thing, and you get a 4-star unit you really don't want most of the time, but on the odd chance you summon something good, it has the chance to be any Emblem hero from the game, except Ephraim for some reason. When you do summon an Emblem hero, they come with their entire kits active, as well as their weapons. They don't have the engage skills, and they have stats that seem to scale according to the user's internal level. I'm not quite sure exactly how this works yet, so if you do, let me know in the comments. Dragons summon a quote-unquote more powerful hero as an added effect, which I assume is just more stats, but I wonder if it has a higher likelihood of being a 5-star Emblem hero instead of the generics that you can get. Otherwise, Cavalry are the only other class that synchronizes with this, and the hero they summon gets 1 extra move. That's fine, I guess. That's pretty much it. It seems to be a one-time use thing, but I haven't tested how it works. Say, for example, the hero you summoned is still alive, and you engage all over again and try to summon another one. Like, do they just disappear after the turns are up, or do they disappear and summon a replacement, or do the 2 stay on the field at the same time? Let me know in the comments if you know the answer to these. My initial impression of Veronica is to use her on a Juggernaut for enemy phase nuking and power, but she definitely has a lot of funky utility and can go on a support unit as well. Class synergy really doesn't matter for her here at all, so even on dragons, she's not that strong, so just let your imagination go wild and have fun with her. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna follow this video up with a full Emblem tier list and comparison now that we have everyone together and I can talk about how they hold up, so if that's something you guys would be interested in, then feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in another video very, very soon. Peace.